From the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network studios in Des Moines, this is Iowa Ag Matters. I'm Riley Smith. In today's show, Mark joins Iowa Senator Chuck Grassley's weekly press call. I have the latest South America update with Greg McBride of Allendale, and special correspondent Russ Parker wraps up his conversation with Cory Nordhausen of AgDirect. Now here are your hosts, Mark Magnuson and Dustin Huffman.
Well, we are here on another edition of Iowa Ag Matters. Lots to talk about again today as we get rolling on this Thursday. Mark Magnuson with me as well. Did get some interesting information here earlier that President Trump is using a 60-day shipping waiver to slash at the fertilizer and fuel costs before our planting crush starts. He said yesterday he's temporarily setting aside the century-old shipping restriction in a bid to ease the surging costs, move that ag leaders say could deliver critical relief to American farmers. That will basically waive the Merchant Marine Act of 1920, or the Jones Act, allows for vessels to transport goods between U.S. ports, a significant shift from the longstanding policy that requires such shipments be carried on American-built and operated ships. Administration officials say the change is intended to loosen supply constraints and lower transportation costs as the global energy markets reel from the escalating conflict tied to Operation Epic Fury. And the administration has framed the waiver as part of a broader effort to shore up supply chains and blunt the economic fallout from military operations, which began on the end of February. So some decent news. Hopefully that will relieve some of the pressure, but it remains to be seen. Of course, as we've been talking about with fertilizer, this is only in a situation where if you haven't bought your fertilizer yet, this could be an impact for you. I mean, most people have booked ahead of time, as we've said many times, and many suppliers already have their supplies on hand. But, of course, there's always those latent few that maybe get through.
Yeah, Dustin, this is something that I had talked with Bill Moore of Price Futures Group yesterday about on the closing markets. This 60-day waiver, again, you mentioned it's called the Jones Act, and it will allow those foreign-flagged vessels to transport goods between U.S. ports. And that is a big difference from just ships that are American-built and operated. So you can see how this would lessen restrictions and regulations and allow for basically just easier movement of these goods and products. And as we know, when that is the case and those types of shipping arrangements are made, that is going to have knock-on effects for farmers and help out our farmers here in the United States, at least temporarily, for this 60-day window. And it is going to, obviously, as you had mentioned, Dustin, a big part of this is fertilizer, but then also fuel. And as we know, when it comes to oil and fuel, the fact that the price goes up is another input that is weighing on the bottom line of farmers. So, of course, the administration wants to do everything it can to help out Americans, and that, of course, includes farmers as well.
Yeah, that it does. And, of course, there's a lot of ways these things can go, and, different ways that we can see results happen. And, hopefully this will be that relief that we're talking about here coming forward. But, of course, the markets continue to react to what's happening over in the Middle East, especially as oil prices are still becoming supportive of the grains. Joe Camp of Comstock has more now on those grain prices with Mark Magnuson.
Joined today by Joe Camp of Comstock for the opening market discussion. Joe, what's happening with the trade in the grains after a bounce-back day yesterday?
Mixed. We've got corn up, wheat lower, soybeans in the middle, almost exactly unchanged here. So a two-sided trade for the soy complex, still in recovery mode from Monday's limit lower session, 70 cents down, a turnaround Tuesday, and then some carry through on Wednesday. We had help from crude oil and soybean oil futures going higher. Some developments, one in reversal of the negativity about China and President Trump's delay of his face-to-face meeting that was originally expected to come at the end of the month. The thought after that would be that the meeting would still be on, delayed 5 or 6 weeks. So say 3 or 4 weeks beyond the original date. We talk about the logistics related to what's going on in the Middle East. That front is still friendly for crude oil and drives this conversation about the broader energy complex and its liftoff that it's providing for commodities as a whole. And then the direct ties back to the domestic biofuel sectors for corn, ethanol, and biomass-based diesel, which is part of the conversation politically as well. We've got Friday next week, President Trump hosting at the White House a celebration of agriculture, and it's widely expected that we're going to have the final announcement for renewable volumes on blending for 2026 and 2027, and that those rates will be favorable, and that there could as well be some addressing of ethanol, whether it's a summer waiver again or movement on year-round E15. So more friendly than not these last couple of days after a not so friendly, of course, start to the week.
And Joe, speaking of those RVOs and the announcement that's upcoming, the administration has been pretty bullish about what those terms will look like for the blending requirements. Is that going to be a boost to the ag marketplace if that occurs, or has some of that already been factored in because we've been hearing some rumors about the RVOs for quite some time?
That's the ultimate question. You have to think that we're possibly seeing a setup for a buy the rumor, sell the fact type reaction because of the possibilities. Are we going to see that the earlier quote unquote leaked numbers are fulfilled, that they're verified, and that we do have a favorable increase in the blending rates for this year and next, and particularly for biomass-based diesel, when you add in the decision that we know is coming as well on the reallocation of the volumes that were previously waived for small refiners. So we get to this point where we have a couple of options. Maybe it's as good as we've previously baked into the market, because that has been a bullish tailwind these last couple of months, really, in anticipation of this day. And then you can have this letdown, certainly, if you miss the mark, if they're disappointing relative to these earlier reports, the speculations about the numbers that we've already traded. So you can have some setup for a letdown, certainly. We'll see about that next Friday. The overall long-term view is that we've put in premium into the market because these are favorable changes, that they are solid levels of increase to continue to support this ramp up of capacity, especially for that biomass-based diesel, where we're using a lot more soybeans for soy oil here at home.
Your local radio station brings you the local news you depend on. The Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network complements that with ag news, weather, and market updates tailored for Iowa's farmers. Together, we deliver the best of both worlds, local connection and industry expertise. It's all to keep you connected with the heartbeat of the heartland, the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network, connecting rural Iowa with the news that matters to you.
Back on Iowa Ag Matters, and earlier this week we heard from Senator Chuck Grassley during his weekly ag call with reporters. Mark Magnuson had a chance to listen in and hear what they were talking about, including some announcements next week from the president here and much more.
National Ag Week is a time to celebrate the hard work of the 2% of the family farmers and 2% of our national population who put food on the table for the other 98% of Americans. However, it's no secret that the ag economy is facing very serious challenges. Grain prices have been down for years, and input prices are up, and yesterday's fall of soybean and corn prices doesn't help anything. Farmers are looking to Congress to address all of these issues that you read about and hear on the farm news programs when it comes to the new Farm Bill. Well, we're seeing some movement in the House. The bill got out of committee and it was bipartisan. The fight for a Farm Bill is far from over. A good first step is bringing transparency to fertilizer markets. So I'm leading the Fertilizer Research Act, which would provide insight into market concentration and hopefully prevent market concentration. And then we watch the prices, and we want the free market to determine those prices, not market manipulation and concentration. Congress needs to pass E15 legislation to open a $14 billion market for corn farmers and bring down consumer costs at the pump, the Working Families Tax Cut Law, modernize the farm safety net, supporting programs Iowa farmers rely on like crop insurance, even improving crop insurance, and the livestock indemnity program. However, that's not enough. It's been 8 years since we passed a farm bill, and farmers are hurting. We need to get a farm bill done now to address the ag economy today. And you heard me after many State of the Union messages going back several presidents. Very few of them mention agriculture in their State of the Union message, but it was sure good news to have the White House say that in a few days he's going to have I don't know what you call it, a rose garden, but outside ceremony honoring farmers and ranchers. And hopefully that's good news for biofuels. So I thank the president for doing that. And another thing I want to say is Senator Boozman is still working real hard to get a bill out of the Senate Ag Committee. I can't speak for him, but I can speak for myself. If we don't get an ag bill out of the Senate Ag Committee, even though Senator Boozman's working real hard, it wouldn't surprise me if when the House passes a farm bill, we'd work off of the House bill.
In rural Iowa, you need reliable information. The Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network brings you ag-specific content like market trends, weather outlooks, and policy updates that matter to your operation, while your local station brings you community news and consistent updates on what is happening in your area. It's a partnership built for the challenges of rural life. Your farm, your local station, and your friends at the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network, where Iowa Ag matters. Find us online at iowaagnet.com. Time to run down those basis numbers for you here on Iowa Ag Matters on this Thursday. I'm Dustin Huffman. Seeing a few elevators improving bids here today. One elevator improving its corn bid by a few cents, and a few elevators improving soybeans anywhere from 2 to 10 cents. Let's take a look at where they're at. ADM Burlington 20 cents under on corn, $4.49. Soybeans 40 cents under, $11.27. Cargill and Eddyville 24 cents under on corn, $4.45 for the cash bid. New Co-op Algona 46 cents under on corn, $4.23. Soybeans 82 cents under with a cash bid of $10.85. Ag State Sheldon 30 cents under on corn, $4.39. Soybeans 90 cents under at $10.77. Ag State Elta 47 cents under on corn, cash bid $4.22. Soybeans 85 cents under at $10.82. At Cargill and Cedar Rapids, they are 17 cents under on corn, $4.52. Soybeans 40 cents under, cash bid $11.27. Five-Star Co-op Nashua 32 cents under on corn, $4.37. Soybeans 74 cents under at $10.93. Lincoln Way Energy Nevada 28 cents under on corn, $4.41. ADM Des Moines 40 cents under on soybeans, cash bid there $11.27. New Co-op Red Oak 36 cents under on corn, $4.33. Soybeans 80 cents under, $10.87. Mid-Iowa Cooperative Green Mountain 51 cents under on corn, $4.18. Soybeans 85 cents under, $10.82. New Co-op Sheraton 36 cents under on corn, $4.33. Soybeans 80 cents under, cash bid $10.87. Walk-On Feed Ranch 45 cents under on corn, $4.24. Soybeans 73 cents under at $10.94. New Co-op Glidden 44 cents under on corn, cash bid $4.25. Soybeans 80 cents under, $10.87. Innovative Ag Farley 50 cents under on corn, $4.19. Soybeans 76 cents under, cash bid $10.91. In Cargill Muscatine, the river's closed for the season. Deliveries are set to resume next week, the week of March the 23rd. Cash corn and soybean bids are subject to change without notice. Always check with your local elevator when making sales to obtain the most recent price. And that's been a rundown of your cash corn and soybean bids here on Iowa Ag Matters. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay informed with the closing market report from the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network, your essential summary of the day's market activities and their impact on the agricultural economy. Join us for timely updates and expert commentary on commodity prices and market trends, with trusted ag market analysts from around the Midwest. Tune in every Monday through Friday on your local Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network affiliate for your daily market recap and insights to stay ahead in the ag economy.
Back on Iowa Ag Matters, and Russ Parker started a conversation yesterday with Cory Nordhausen of AgDirect talking about the balancing we're seeing in the machinery market. But now the question is how do you pay for the equipment you need when the money supply is tight? Hear more right now.
So what's the role that AgDirect plays in all this? I mean, let's talk about that part of the equation.
Yeah, so AgDirect, we started in 1997. We just were losing business right at the point of sale purchase. You went in the John Deere store and you're going to get John Deere financing. You went in the K store, you're going to get C&H financing. And so we needed to get ourselves into those dealerships, which we did. We just celebrated our 25th anniversary here a few years ago. So after creating AgDirect and getting into those dealerships, really our role is to help term that debt out, term that purchase of that tractor, that combine out into, sizable payments. There's not a lot of cash in the market anymore, right? And so a farmer really probably has to look first at their cash flow and say, okay, what can I afford? What's going to bring the most efficiency and gains on my operations? And then find that payment that's going to work for them, and then back into what type of equipment is probably going to be the best for them.
So that makes sense to me. So really, you become a source of not only financial help, but kind of an assessment of what they can and can't do from a risk management perspective too.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's where we bring the most benefit is being able to look at a customer's financial condition and be able to help them make those decisions and find the right product for them, right? We offer a multitude of terms on equipment. In a lot of cases, if you're buying that, new equipment and good 1 to 3 year old late model stuff, we can finance 100% of that at times. Not that that's always the best thing to do is not put any money down on equipment because you may not build equity as fast. But if you're in a tight liquidity situation and you need that piece of equipment and you don't have that quick cash available, you can take a look at financing 100% purchase with us. We also offer leasing as well. So if you're looking at really getting that fixed cost at the lowest you can every year, a lease works and there's a large balloon payment on the end. We refer to it as a residual. Then you can get that payment lower to really fit into your cash flow. You got to think of the other side of it, though, is you're carrying more principal out there, so your cost to own and interest cost on that is going to be a little higher. So there's a give and take on that.
So, Cory, if a grower is thinking about doing some exploring alternatives or just wants to get more information, specifically from AgDirect, where can they go to find that information?
Yeah, just go to agdirect.com. I'll also go out there and download the AgDirect mobile calculator out there in Google Play or the App Store with Apple. There's some really useful tools that farmers and producers can use to look at their interest cost on that debt. They can look at different amortization schedules. Again, I mentioned leasing. Another important part when you get there is, I didn't mention this earlier, but the number of auctions, it was up again 4% last year. Now, the number of equipment, maybe good used stuff, was down a little bit, but we provide auction financing as well. With dealers maybe not taking as many trades, maybe sometimes you're forced to sell that to your neighbor or guy at the other state, farmer to farmer. We call that a private party sale. So in both those, you can go right to agdirect.com. You can put in your credit application. AgDirect works in minutes and hours, not days and weeks. So we'll be able to get you a quick credit decision. And if you need to turn the money quickly, we are very quick to market with documents and getting that deal closed and really with little hassle from you. So really prideful on the people that work at AgDirect to make all that work. And that's the nice thing about us is when you call into AgDirect, you're going to talk to a live body, and probably 9 times out of 10, that individual spent a lot of time on the farm. And I think you'll really enjoy the conversation that you'll have with our folks.
Well, good information. I'm with Cory Nordhausen from Farm Credit Services and AgDirect, and we appreciate your time, Cory.
Yeah, thank you for the time.
So this is Russ Parker reporting for the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network.
Hi, my name is Ethan Smith, and I've been a certified crop advisor in Iowa for about 6 years. The Iowa CCA program is valuable to me because it helps keep me informed on new topics and research around the industry, including soils, insects, diseases, and much more. It's also a great way to network with others around the state and beyond. Iowa is known for its crops, and that's why we're here. To learn more about becoming a certified crop advisor, visit iowacca.org.
Well, Dustin, we've already spent a lot of discussion here today on the show about the upcoming announcement from the White House, which is going to be on the south lawn of the White House. It is expected that we are going to get the biofuel blending rules from the Environmental Protection Agency either right then or around that time. And also, we are hearing some comments from USDA Deputy Secretary Stephen Vaden. This is according to AgriPulse. They said that the wait may be coming to an end soon. EPA's final biofuel regulations for this year and next year will likely be the, quote, most pro-biofuel rule put in place by any White House. That was according to Stephen Vaden in his recent talk. And so, Dustin, of course, the current administration is going to want to tout their version of the rules and you know, the positive sides of things. But it does sound like, at least from these rumors that we're hearing and different comments from the administration, that it is going to be on the bullish side in terms of what we can expect in helping farmers with those biofuel regulations and the volumes, and what we would see based on the inputs that go into those blending volumes and how that could help out agriculture.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see if that does come out. Of course, we've learned one thing with the administration, and it's not to be, it's just how the administration does business. It's the fact that we might be thinking something is going to be coming, and then we could see something completely different. We were expecting the RVO announcement at Commodity Classic. In fact, when Secretary Rollins was there, and it turns out it had nothing to do with RVOs then either. So I am interested to see if that is the announcement. Of course, there is a lot of things that are up in the air and a lot of uncertainty for farmers. So it literally could be anything, but we'll have to wait and see how that plays out here coming up next week in the White House. Of course, National Ag Week going on this week and National Ag Day next week. Lots to talk about here. More Iowa Ag Matters in a moment.
Your local radio station brings you the local news you depend on. The Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network complements that with ag news, weather, and market updates tailored for Iowa's farmers. Together, we deliver the best of both worlds, local connection and industry expertise. It's all to keep you connected with the heartbeat of the heartland. The Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network, connecting rural Iowa with the news that matters to you. This is the Midday Market Update on Iowa Ag Matters. I'm Mark Magnuson, joined today by John Heinberg of Total Farm Marketing. John, what's happening at the midday trade in the grains?
Well, we've got some decent strength for the most part, but it's been choppy today. Corn kind of challenging the high from just a few days ago, kind of holding underneath that to a point. Maybe got a little bit of a double top on the chart if you don't look at the spike on that one Monday. So we'll have to see. This has been an area where corn's gotten to, that 480 area or 470 on the May. That's kind of been holding us in place, 480 on the July, the last couple of times we've gotten here. So we'll have to watch that. December corn seeing some good strength as well. Now, the last 15 minutes or so here, we've got a nice move in crude oil, and actually corn and soybean futures kind of faded off that a little bit, so we'll have to see how that all plays out. Soybean market, again, very, very choppy today. Again, strength continues in those back months. They keep unwinding the old crop, new crop soybean spreads to some point here today. Now, we saw the November beans at 11.50, kind of hit the wall there so far today, so we'll see how that plays out. Big move in the soybean meal market again today, and I think that's been some of the last little rally here. It's just that either a short covering rally or a technical buying rally in that soybean meal. Maybe it's just the fact that it was a little underpriced compared to the other bean products, so it's been lifting it up the last couple of days. So we'll have to see how that kind of closes out. Bean oil trading a little bit negative today as that chart looks a little bit tired. Big focus last couple of days has been on the wheat market. We are seeing profit taking on the KC wheat. Export sales this morning were below expectations for wheat. That's kind of weighing on the KC wheat, down 6-7 cents. Chicago wheat's choppy and basically unchanged at this time frame, but we'll have to see how the day closes. So grains at least mixed trade, softening here at the 11 o'clock hour, but we'll see how the day finishes out.
What's happening on the livestock side of the trade?
rough selling day going on in the livestock sector. Feeder cattle $4 to $5 lower pretty much across the board today. Lives $1.50, $1.70 lower. So we kind of started there and been sitting there basically most of the morning. So we'll have to kind of watch how this plays out. Now we're waiting on cash trade. That's going to hopefully get put together as the week goes on. Very quiet in the bids and offer points at this time frame. Then we got cattle on feed on Friday. So that might be something the market's just waiting for. We'll see. Packer margins are actually pretty good with those high retail choice carcass values. So there's at least some things there that can maybe bring that cash market up. Hogs also seeing selling pressure. And I think kind of the overweighing theme, maybe the tight consumer dollar hitting the livestock sector a little bit today. Hogs pushing triple digits lower as we had a little bit of break technically on a couple of those charts. Maybe got to move on that front month contract about a couple dollars down from where we are around this 93 window.
Start your weekend with insight and inspiration on Weekend Ag Matters from the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network. Every week we bring you an in-depth look at the top ag stories with a recap of the week's biggest headlines. Join us for long-format interviews with industry leaders and policymakers, giving you insights you won't hear anywhere else. And don't miss our faith-based segment with Russ Parker, Food for Thought, offering a perspective that helps bring clarity and focus to our lives. Make Weekend Ag Matters part of your weekend routine. Tune in every weekend on the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network.
May corn up 3 3/4 at $4.67. May soybeans up 2 1/4 at $11.64. May soybean meal up $12 at $333.70. May soybean oil down 25 cents at $65.28. On the Merc, April live cattle down $1.75 at $233.65. April feeder cattle down $4.60 at $349.23. April lean hogs down 80 cents at $92.95. That was a check of the midday markets on Iowa Ag Matters. I'm Mark Magnuson.
Well, back on Iowa Ag Matters, we're going to jump back into the markets and take a look at what's happening with the livestock on those cattle and hogs as Joe Camp of Comstock rejoins Mark Magnuson to talk about what's happening over there.
What's happening on the livestock side of the trade?
It's a lower start for both cattle and hogs. We had a stronger start to the week, first half up for cattle futures. We did find some resistance on the chart, though, and turned lower into the midweek session, now dropping down a couple of dollars, both live cattle and feeder cattle futures. We see that weighing on hogs to an extent as well. What we're continuing to debate is the speculative money flows, and if they want to continue to maintain these bullish bets in the livestock space, given that we've got so much concern now building about the economy. And that's something definitely we've seen tracking with cattle futures and the stock market. Up earlier in the week, both markets down here at times on Wednesday, and now both stocks and cattle futures along with hogs lower as we have this ongoing concern about stagflation and persistent inflation while the economy is not doing so hot. So at least for now, a red move for both cattle and hogs.
I guess a benefit coming up, Joe, is it won't be too long till we're into grilling season.
That's right. I know I've got a good lookout for that ahead. Exciting that we're seeing the season shift. Of course, that is fitting of this transition into spring, right? A blizzard to 70 degrees, but we'll take it now that we're on the other side of it. And we have the spring equinox coming up to close the week to really officially get us in to the new season. We'll think a lot about that for summer grilling season and, of course, for the new planting season back to the grains. We think about what will go on the rest of this week, and then on Tuesday next week, anticipation for those big crop reports, the quarterly grain stocks and the annual prospective planting survey.
Joe Camp of Comstock, my guest here today. Head to Comstock.com for more marketing information and all of the resources from the team. Joe, thank you for the time. Always appreciate it, and have a great rest of your day.
Thanks a lot, Mark.
Hi, my name is Ethan Smith, and I've been a certified crop advisor in Iowa for about 6 years. The Iowa CCA program is valuable to me because it helps keep me informed on new topics and research around the industry, including soils, insects, diseases, and much more. It's also a great way to network with others around the state and beyond. Iowa is known for its crops, and that's why we're here. To learn more about becoming a certified crop advisor, visit iowacca.org.
In rural Iowa, we know you're sold on your local radio station. The Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network partners with local Iowa stations to deliver the latest in agriculture news, including grain elevator prices, market reports, and ag policy news. Trusted local voices, trusted ag content. This message is brought to you by your friends at the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network, where Iowa Ag matters.
Well, we're going to get into what's going on south of the equator in Brazil and Argentina. Of course, as harvest is going fast and furious, especially in Brazil. Riley Smith talks with Greg McBride of Allendale to get our weekly South American update.
On the phone right now with Greg McBride of Allendale as we take a look at the conditions down in South America. Greg, what have we seen in the latest weather patterns for Brazil and Argentina?
Well, no major issues in Brazil or Argentina for the next couple of weeks. The 1 5-day shows good rains across most of the area. There are some spotty rains in southern Brazil, but overall still seeing rains in the 6 to 10-day forecast. Again, a little more spotty in southern Brazil, but overall still seeing rains across both major growing areas here. So no major concerns about the weather in South America, at least at this time.
And then with the weather being really just kind of not impactful right now, how is the crop progress looking for Brazil?
Yeah, we're looking at Brazil's soybean crop about half done, 55% harvested right now. 5-year average would put them at 64, and they were at 70 at this point last year. So they are behind by a fair amount in that harvest process. On the first crop corn, they are again roughly midway through, 49%. That is the exact same for last year as it was for the 5-year average. So right in line with where they need to be for that first crop corn. And then second crop corn planting, getting close to being finished. 85% planted so far. 83% is what the 5-year average is. It would still be behind last year, but overall doing very nicely on that second crop planting process.
And then we saw yesterday in the ag marketplace here in the U.S., soybeans took a major fall, largely due to the news that the meeting between President Trump and President Xi of China is likely getting postponed. With that being postponed and potentially a trade deal getting pushed later down the road, does that open up any more of a window for Brazil to make export sales, or what kind of an impact could this have?
No, I don't think it actually is a major impact when it comes to trade at this current time. It might have been something for the potential for us to kind of whittle out maybe an additional few million metric tons from China. But at this time of the year, normally Brazil is the prime feature when it comes to soybeans. So I don't think that pushing that off for 5 weeks, as we were told earlier today, is going to be that much of a detriment to Brazil's exports as anything. I think more often than not, we were just trying to hone in on what else we could sell them, whether that's corn, whether that's sorghum, cotton, or even beef or poultry. So I don't think it has a big factor in the soybean side of things for us. The big thing I would be watching for is if it wasn't to go well, or if there's more rhetoric posted maybe around getting help from China with regard to the Strait of Hormuz, I think then you could see some concerns about U.S. exports and maybe even some cancellations. So at this point, what we do know is they bought the initial 12 million metric tons, and they still are committed to the additional 25 million metric tons for new crop beans for this year, next year, and the year after.
All right, Greg, lots of great information today. For anyone who would like to get in touch with Allendale for more marketing information, how can they do that?
Give us a call at 800-2-MARKET. That's 800-262-7538.
Stay up to date with the latest in the ag industry with Agribusiness Matters from the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network. Each weekday, we bring you the latest advancements in farming, from new precision ag technology to cutting-edge sustainable farming practices. Agribusiness Matters is also your source for the most relevant ag news, policy discussions, and insights that are shaping the future of agriculture. Tune in to Agribusiness Matters on the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network, where Iowa Ag matters.
Hi, my name is Ethan Smith, and I've been a certified crop advisor in Iowa for about 6 years. The Iowa CCA program is valuable to me because it helps keep me informed on new topics and research around the industry, including soils, insects, diseases, and much more. It's also a great way to network with others around the state and beyond. Iowa is known for its crops, and that's why we're here. To learn more about becoming a certified crop advisor, visit iowacca.org.
You're listening to Iowa Ag Matters on the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network. And of course, a lot happening in the world of basketball as we kick off the NCAA tournament. And Iowa, Iowa State, and UNI all making the tournament. It is going to be a very fun time for fans of basketball here in the state. Thank you to Dustin. Thank you to Riley. I'm Mark Magnuson. And thanks to you, the listener, for joining us again for another episode of Iowa Ag Matters. National Ag Week continues. We'll have more for you tomorrow. You've been listening to Iowa Ag Matters on the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you again tomorrow.